I want to touch a point that you just said about the use of ultrasound, the underuse of ultrasound. And I think ultrasound is such a powerful tool because the fact that it has no radiation, it does not hurt, is easy to do, basically easy to do for the patient. It's quick, and because of technology, like you have the butterfly, you have other ultrasound equipment, you're portable.
Hello, and welcome to Legends of Longevity with me, Joseph Entz. I'm your host, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey towards living a longer, stronger, and more vibrant life. The podcast is about uncovering the secrets to longevity, things your doctor does not tell you, whether it's groundbreaking advancements in heart health, lifestyle tips to keep you thriving, or inspired stories of people who've defied the odds. Together, we'll explore the tools, techniques, and mindset shifts that can help you unlock your fullest potential. Whether you're here to learn how to enhance your well-being, support your loved ones, or just stay ahead of the curve in health and wellness, you're in the right place. Let's empower each other to not only live longer, but live stronger. Today's guest is someone who's very interesting, that you probably wouldn't really have a conversation with a guy like this unless you accidentally sat on a plane next to him. But Dr. Victor Penna has been doing ultrasound since 1979, back in the single-channel M-mode days. With 20 years of academia, certifications, he's specialist in abdominal, breast, vascular imaging. He leads primary care ultrasound, an education site and training for worldwide, equipping medical professionals with the skills to use ultrasound as a powerful, non-invasive diagnostic tool. It makes me happy to find other people advancing the democratization of ultrasound. So, introducing Dr. Victor Penna. Welcome, Doc. It's good to have you here.
Welcome. Thank you for allowing me the time and space to talk a little bit about my world and what I do and what I see the future is for ultrasound and healthcare in general.
All right. Let's geek out for a few minutes because this is exciting. Of the cool catches we found while doing ultrasound, I'll start. Patient comes in, and back in the 70s, he was hit with a baseball on his neck. And back then, they didn't operate to open it up. So 30 years later, we scanned the guy, and his arteries had made this catcher's mitt of collateralized flow to reroute around his brain. Amazing. And when you're looking with ultrasound, you just see that it stops, and it's just so unique how the body adapts. That's one of my favorite stories. What do you got, Doc?
Well, I think based on what you said is people don't realize that we are not a stagnant piece of meat. The beautiful part about our body, the engineering of our bodies that is constantly reshaping, constantly redoing. And when he finds an obstacle, like you just mentioned, he finds a way to get that blood going where it needs to go. And that's one of the problems that we have with cancer, because cancer, one of the things that it does exactly that. It will create new blood vessels just to pull out blood supply to it so it can grow. So in that sense, the body is a constant developing, constant changing, and people don't think it that way. You look at your body and say, okay, it's the same face that I saw yesterday. But actually, everything is moving, changing, developing, and recreating itself. And I think that's the amazing part of the body that people don't realize. I think not too long ago, I think last year in December, I was in Togo, Africa, and I mentioned I do missionary work, and I try to teach sonography to undeveloped countries because it's such a powerful tool in their hands. And a lady came, I think it was 4 or 5 days. She had not eaten anything. She couldn't swallow. She was losing weight. She was really in a very delicate position, and she couldn't swallow anything. So they didn't know what to do. I said, well, let me take a look at the esophagus. I said, what do you mean you can look at the esophagus with ultrasound? Absolutely. So I went on the carotid side, especially on the left side, you can see the esophagus, especially when we do transverse, you can see the esophagus there. But if you go sagittal on it and you angle, you can actually see the whole esophagus on your neck. And then I went down towards the diaphragm. I went xiphoid up and I looked, and I can see the diaphragm piercing through the diaphragm going towards the stomach. And there was a mass there. There was like, we didn't know if it was a tumor, if there was something there. So I ended up going endoscopy. We went in, and actually was that she ate a piece of meat, and it was so big she just swallowed it, I guess, and it got stuck at the valve, and it will not go through. And the poor lady couldn't drink, couldn't do anything, and that thing was stuck. So we start peeling out this. But imagine looking at the camera, you see this fibers, it looked like a little bird legs or whatever. It was amazing. It was first time ever. But it's the idea of that you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to look outside the box and say, okay, I got this tool. What can I do with it? And don't let limitations stop you. So I think that was, everybody learned from that one.
Wow. Big old chunk of meat, huh?
Yeah, I guess someone was going to eat it for her, and she just swallowed the whole thing. Said, no, it's mine. Boom.
Oh, wow. And like ultrasound is so underutilized. Like you can see inside the body, and it does take a lot of training to understand what you're looking for or at. And they've tried teaching medical students to use ultrasound clinically, but if they're not comfortable with the heart looks like exactly, if they don't do it every day, it turns out they're uncomfortable and they don't want to use it. They call that the perishability problem. But that's why we have specialized techs.
Yeah, but one of the issues that I found as I tried to train physicians, that you would say, well, if you're a physician, you made it that far, you should be smart enough to be able to pick this up. And what I found out is that people are wired differently. And some people are what we call natural. They take a probe, they scan, and they're boom, you say, okay, this guy got it. And some people will struggle trying to get the image. And you say, well, why? This person, is a very smart person who went through school and all that, and they cannot get that three-dimensional hand-eye coordination. So there's something about the wiring. And that's a challenge that we have when people say, oh, I want to do sonography, and somehow then end up having some issues.
I've noticed that too. Like if I show people a model of the artery, this is what we're looking, like it kind of clicks and they realize they figure out how to negotiate the image that they want after a little bit of practice. Others just can't render it in their head. They can't, with a lot of practice, anybody can learn it, but not immediately.
It takes a lot of time. But I want to touch a point that you just said about the use of ultrasound, the underuse of ultrasound. And I think ultrasound is such a powerful tool because the fact that it has no radiation, it does not hurt, is easy to do, basically easy to do for the patient. It's quick, and because of technology, like you have the butterfly, you have other ultrasound equipment, you're portable. So it is something that is very much usable, and it is underutilized. I believe in my heart that ultrasound should be part of your annual physical exam. Your annual physical exam should be a complete abdomen, complete carotid, complete echo, complete everything. Why not? It doesn't hurt, no radiation, it doesn't take that long. And I think is a tremendous tool, because if we can find a lesion early on, like we call in situ, that lesion will be, we can eliminate that lesion without having to have the patient go through chemotherapy or radiation or anything else. And that is the difference between surviving or not. And I think it's a shame that we don't have that as a policy to use ultrasound every day. I scan my family, my whole family, I scan them once a year. They go through like a car wash. Everybody gets in, and I scan everyone. I know about all their organs. I track them. And if there's any pimple that comes up that I can see, I say, wait a minute, let's investigate more. And if it isn't, it isn't. But if it is, I just saved their lives. And that's my family.
Yeah. What a gift you can give your family. You worked really hard to learn those skills. Is the heart valves bicuspid, tricuspid, little things that are different on everyone. And you can offer, like, who wouldn't want that? Spend a day, get a good, and the context is important. Like, hey, it's a little bad, but it's not bad. This is normal bad.
Or follow it up. Be able to follow up. Or like you say, take care of it and say, okay, what do I need to do? I'm here. How do I get there? What do I need to do? Change my diet, supplements, exercise, whatever it is. I think is a fantastic tool to give you it gives you a window into your own body. And to think that we spend so much time in dumb things, and you go to dinner, that's $200 easily. For $200, you could get a scan of your thyroid, or carotid, for example, which look at the walls, the internal wall of the artery, which is mimicking the coronary arteries of your heart. So whatever you see in the carotid artery is mimicking your coronary. So to be able to look at that and say, hey, I can actually see inside of you without cutting you. I tell my students that is our superpower. So I say, I can see inside of you, that's my superpower. What is yours?
Yeah, and I lean into that because there's some research that says if you show patients their body, they will take care of it. It's real to them and they believe it. Cholesterol, they don't believe it so much. They don't usually make huge life changes based off of cholesterol numbers. But showing them a plaque in their artery is so motivational. Showing them that their heart is a little damaged, showing them that the liver is fatty, so motivational. Like, here's the problem. There's no denying it. I'll give you metrics on it if you want. But totally agree.
And I think that's the problem. That when people take supplements, I take a lot of supplements, but really, unless I have a lab that I can go constantly and double check, am I getting better, am I getting worse, what's going on, and titrate it, unless I'm able to do that, it's hard. But if I can look at my body and say, oh yeah, I can see the arteries getting better, I can see this shrinking, I can see this, that makes a big difference.
Huge difference. And that's why I'm selling this to primary care doctors. And all right, let's get into you and your career, because kids, the technology in our lifetime has changed a lot, the ultrasound. So tell us some hilarious stories about the equipment you used to use and how it's evolved from the 70s to the 2026.
Well, when we started in ultrasound, 1970, 79, 79, yeah, 78. I started 78 in the Bronx VA hospital in the Bronx in New York. Imagine, that was not a pleasant place to be. And we used a ultrasound machine that actually had one crystal pulse wave, and it was a picker, and it was attached to an arm. So in order to move the probe, you had to press a button and the arm will move. And it was one boom, that was the image. Still image, that's it. Imagine doing obstetrics and the baby moved and you're trying to find the head and follow it up. It took a long time, and I used to bend the arm trying to get that BPD and stuff to measure the baby. That slowly developed into what we have now, real time, which is like a movie. And we are now multiple images going back and forth, and now we have a movie that we can see, so we call it.
Wait, so you started when there was one line of ultrasound on the screen?
Well, it was not, yeah, it was an image. You went like that, and it created one single, image, and it was a frozen image. That was it. So the engineers.
And then you got the whole matrix.
Yeah, the engineer decided, well, instead of me going like this and create an image, how about if I put a little motor on it and then go back and forth fast enough that you don't see now the frame rate, and now you have a movie. So that's when real time started, just because of the back and forth of the frames, and you created, instead of me going 1, 2, 3, put it all together like a card, and you could see the movie.
Was that the early 80s?
Very earlier. I mean, I was working on it on 78, 79 there. But the funny thing, we used to use mineral oil. We didn't have gel. We used mineral oil. which got everywhere. That thing is like molasses. It is sticky to everywhere. So it got everywhere. The only people that really enjoy it were the pregnant ladies because it made their stomach, their skin smooth and they enjoy that. But it was oil all over the place. It was mineral oil. That's what we used before the new generation gel came about. So that was kind of
And the new gel is agar, right? That's made out of It's what they use on petri dishes, except it's antibacterial.
I don't know exactly what. Well, it's water based, but I don't know exactly what kind of material is in it. But if I run out of gel, I just take olive oil, and I use olive oil, and that's what I tell people in Africa. I say, if you're out of that, you can use, anything that is a lubricant and it has some water, so that you have the interface between the crystal and the skin. You eliminate the air pocket, so now the sound can penetrate. Might not be the best for the probe itself, as it has a covering that sometimes gets damaged, but otherwise, in an emergency, you can use almost anything. Hand cream, anything.
Yeah, KY jelly, anything that's liquid and gooey seems to work.
Yep, anything. And if it glides, even better.
All right, so the new ultrasound machines come out. You've now got a screen of data that you can look at. What are the next upgrades in the evolution of ultrasound?
Well, I think they're going from one crystal to multiple crystal was the big deal. Not only going from a steady image, but now back and forth, you have frame rate. Now you have a real time. So now you become the real time era of ultrasound. And then the array transducers, instead of having one crystal, you have 250, 300, 400 crystals inside each of those probes. That's why those probes are $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 each. They're very, very expensive. And because it has so many crystals, the computer can fire them in a different sequence to take advantage and get a better information for the machine. So now, because the array probes, we can do a lot more. So now can color imaging, the Doppler signal to be able to know if blood is coming or going towards the probe. Not necessarily as arterial or venous, even though people confuse that because of the color, but it's more directional flow. So Doppler is directional flow, and then velocity that we measure through the spectral Doppler. And because of that, then that opened the whole window for cardiac. Because imagine the heart is pumping, is moving. I cannot just take one single picture, it will be all blurry. But because now I have multiple frame is live, then I can actually see the heart in its glory. So now cardiac echocardiogram came very popular, and we were able to see that. And of course, now we can see all the vasculature, we can see the blood flowing, measure the velocity, measure calcification, narrowing, stenosis. So the whole world came about. Then the transvaginal, transrectal, which is just a probe that gets inserted either in the vagina or the rectum for men to see the prostate, women to see the ovaries and uterus and things like that. So,
and this is about 1990s we're at now, where this is starting to mature.
Yeah, that the 90s, that was it was a boom. In the 80s, towards the mid of 80s, that was already a lot of it. Color Doppler was already out there. It was actually, I would say, 1990, 98, 97 that we started seeing color and Doppler being more in most of the general hospitals. We would see those.
Yeah, and I know the first mobile ultrasound companies started popping up about then because the reimbursements were great. The machines were terrifically expensive, but they'd move them around and plan and just... I always think it's fascinating seeing how the industry adapts to what's going on, because the hospitals have these terrifically expensive machines and they're using it. But yeah, the mobile services started popping up about then.
But the technology nowadays, for example, that some of the handheld ultrasound that we use are really, I mean, compared to what I had when I started, I mean, they're night and day. And I think the limitation of the machine, it depends on the sonographer, depends on who uses it. The machine has a lot more information than we are getting, or we're able to use. So it depends on the who does it, who's using it, that you're going to get the most information out of the machine. The ability to use the knobology, to titrate it, to get the different angle. I saw you on the video showing how to go around the tube, which is a logical thing, right? And be able to look at that, think that way in 3 dimension, and maybe going from a different angle, all of a sudden the physics of it allows you to see much better. So it all depends. So it's very dependent on whoever uses it for the diagnosis. And that's one of the problems that we have is who does it. You know, it will depend on the quality of the exam.
Yeah, I get a lot of docs calling me up saying, hey, the study says it's very tech dependent. And however true that is, like 20 years ago, oh yeah, like definitely. But the images are getting so clear that it's less so. It's now like a point, a tenth of a millimeter or 100th of a millimeter difference rather than what it used to be a while ago. And yeah, it's getting better, but you really do get the good outlines. And the new ultrasound, you can see fatty streaks on the wall. You can see plaques developing. And so, yeah, I agree with you. All right, so how did you become a professor?
Well, ultrasound was really the love of my life. I fell in love with it early on. And I always felt that people were not well trained. And because I saw early on that I saw too many mistakes, and I felt that we needed to train people well into this new art. And so slowly one thing led to another. They asked me to teach physics. They asked me to teach, different components of it. And I fell in love with the whole academia. I love to see that light bulb on people. And I think that especially now that I do all this missionary work, to leave part of my knowledge with someone else is the best thing I can do in my life at this point. I think it's a tremendous disservice to humanity. I think when we die with all our knowledge, we took a lot of time and effort to put it in there, and to go to the grave with our knowledge without sharing it, I think is really a disgrace. So that's my mission, is to try to share my knowledge.
That's a beautiful thing. And so people can contact you if they want to contribute to the missions?
They can. We're always looking for medical equipment. So I work with Samaritan's Purse. Samaritan's Purse is the one that created World Medical Missions. And Billy Graham was the author. He started World Medical Missions. So the Samaritan's Purse is the one that helps me get there. But I take suitcases full of medications and surgical things and all kind of stuff that they need. It is a third world country, truly, and it's all about volunteers helping out. So that's my calling right now, and besides teaching.
How often do you go out there?
My wife doesn't allow me to go as much as I wish. I have 3 weeks vacation in December, so as soon as Christmas is over, the 26th, I'm on a plane to Washington, D.C., from there all the way to Togo, and I stay until the 11th, 12th of January. So I spend New Year's Eve over there. And but nowadays, with FaceTime and all this kind of stuff, it's not that bad. I mean, you're far away, you're in a different country. I mean, there's political issues. There's a lot of religious, as you heard, with the Christians and the Muslims in those areas. And so it is concerning. It's actually a very strong concern. I always check before I leave that there's no big turmoil going on, and pray that everything goes well and come back. And so when I come back, I put together a PowerPoint presentation for my students, and I show them case presentation of patients that I saw, and in ultrasound, and we take them to surgery, and I show them in surgery, the tumors, what it looks like. We cut them open and take pictures of that, and come back and put a presentation, and that gets presented to all my students as case presentations. So we go like 20 different cases, and see if they can figure out what's wrong with the patient before I give them the diagnosis. So that's what I do.
What are you doing given a good education? I've hired ultrasound students that paid for those crappy schools, and they'd never touched a probe before. It was all bookwork until they said, "Your congratulations, Yeah, there's some scam schools out there that really ripped a lot of people off. I'm glad you're giving them a good education. Thank you for that."
They start scanning day one. Day one, they have a probe in their hand, and they don't know what they're doing, but they're scanning.
I shouldn't say I've interviewed people who never touched a probe before. They didn't make it to hire. But yeah, your students, so jobs in the hospitals are still plentiful, and you're starting to see the cash world of ultrasound.
Yeah, I think because of the way things are in our country right now, I think in the world where people are being asked to pay a lot of money for insurance. Some people decide not to have insurance, they can't have insurance, or going through the insurance process end up costing them more money than just saying, you know what, I just want to get some blood test, I just want to get an ultrasound of the carotid, ultrasound of the breast, ultrasound of the liver, and just pay cash, $200, whatever it is, and be done with it, and get a official report by a radiologist, a board certified radiologist. So it's all legitimate, it's all good. If there's a problem, it is already diagnosed, and they can go and do the next step. So I think the ability for people, and I think because of the internet, people are getting more educated. So now they have a choice, they can have choices. Instead of going through the medical establishment, the insurance, and all that bureaucracy, which I hate, they can actually go around and say, you know what, my family history has had cirrhosis of the liver. I don't drink, but it's in the family history. I want to check my liver. Enzymes are good, but hey, okay, get it done, peace of mind. You can say, you know what, I got it done. I feel better that they didn't find anything. I'll do it in a year from now, for example, right? And I think people are starting to get control of their own health. So I think it's very important.
They're starting to hire doctors more like consultants to figure out their problems because they're not satisfied with the results they got from the first doctor. And, when they go through insurance, the ultrasound may cost $500 or $1,000. But when they call you and you're like, a couple hundo, bro, and I'll get you done, that's a way better deal. And, the whole insurance system is going to collapse because everyone's finding this out, that you can find a really good ultrasound tech or a service in town that'll give you great, transparent answers.
Right. So I started my company. It's under primary care ultrasound, which is really an education company, but the diagnostic part of it is called Early Scan, so early-scan.com, Early Scan, and there's a website that shows everything, including the Vaso lab for the carotid, but it has a package, and you can pick whatever package you want. And I think it gives people the freedom and the autonomy to make self-decision. And the other thing is that if you go to a physician and say, hey, family history of cirrhosis, I just want to check my liver. They'll never send you for an ultrasound, MRI, or anything because they need a diagnosis. Insurance company will not accept it unless they say, well, liver enzymes are elevated and there is a mass that I can palpate. We need to do an ultrasound. Then it's too late. By the time I'm starting to palpate masses.
Yeah, insurance doesn't even start until you got a big problem. Insurance doesn't even have a reason to start doing tests on you.
No, there's no preventive medicine. See, I think United States is very good at saving you in the emergency room. Technically, United States is the best country for trauma. You go into the emergency room, very few people will die in the emergency room unless, of course, bullet holes all over the place. But most of the people with heart attack, with whatever, we have very good medical system to keep you alive. The problem is the aftermath, the treatment process. It is not a system to cure you and be done. It's a system to keep you attached to the system. And that's what I don't like. And I think, at least that's my personal opinion. So I think people need to educate themselves. They need to find a way to have control of their health. And education is the best place to go.
That's exactly right. So you're embarking on cash testing now?
Yes, strictly cash, and I made it a very, very simple, not complicated, not expensive. Because I believe that people need to be able to do this. And part of me is education, so I like to talk to my patient and tell them, hey, help them in the process. A lot of them don't have the knowledge. They get miscommunication, misinformation. And I think that we need to be able to educate and help our patients make the best decision they can. So it is cash-based. That way there's no insurance. You don't need a referral. It's either credit card or cash. And then in 2 or 3 days later, you get a full report from a radiologist telling you what's wrong with it. So if there is anything wrong, and I think that's the way things are going. Things are moving in that direction in the country.
Yep. Self-directed. Concierge doctors are becoming cheaper and cheaper. If you want to stay out, like direct to consumer, or what is it, direct primary care, DPC, those are the docs that are, they're pretty cheap, and you can pay for the time you need, and they're pretty well-rounded. Naturopaths are another doctor that it's a whole other flavor of medicine. The way they approach your body more holistically. MDs are great. They're pharma-based. DOs try to throw in some chiropractology in there. And not so much lately, though, right? And I'm really enjoying the naturopaths, though. They've got this whole flavor of medicine, of the natural supplements, all that stuff we lost from over 100 years ago. And that it became such a curious topic for me because I read once that institutional memory is only 2 generations old. And I was explaining it to my son, and he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you know nothing about my grandfather. I've told you some stories, but you don't know. It's just institutional. If you work at a company, institutional memory is 2 generations old. The guy who started it, if you're 2 removed, you're not going to know exactly what he was in tune with. Anyways, medicine, herbs, like we are so many generations away from the old herbologists, the old techniques, and not all of them were bad. I mean, modern medicine's good, but you don't really notice that the old ways are coming back. Example, eating a big meal with multi-courses, and then the end you can have your sugar, but before that precedes the protein and the starches, which blunt the sugar spikes, right? So these old things that we figured out over 1,000 years, I think we dismissed them recently for corn syrup diets.
I mean, if you look, I think in 1900, 1920, 1930, somewhere around there, where they made fat, meat and fat and evil, and the carbohydrates and the cereal and all that came into the mainstream. If you correlate that and you look at it, compared with sugar intake and the decline of meat and fats, and you look at the amount of sugar through carbohydrate and sugar itself through those drinks and everything, there is an increase almost parallel with it of diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancer, cardiovascular disease. So if you look at cardiovascular disease, it's almost a joke. We are spending so much money in research, and we are getting worse. I mean, all this statin that everybody's taking, and that has tremendous side effects that people I don't think realize. And cardiovascular disease is still #1 killer. For the amount of money that we spend, we should be a nation that is almost unheard of. but diabetes, obesity, cancer, sterility, all those are in correlation with an increase of sugar and carbohydrate intake. I always say this.
But the food pyramid says different.
Well, now they have changed, have they? The pyramid now they have flipped it to the point that is, they flipped it completely. You know, you have now most of it meat and vegetables at the bottom, and sugar and carbs toward the top. But you know, when people say, "Well, I don't know, I don't believe, I'm not sure," I said, you know, the best thing you can do is look at the past, because I think the proof is in the pudding. So look at your grandparents, 2, 3, 4 generations back, and you say, what did they eat? Because a lot of them lasted. I mean, my grandmother lasted to be 97 years old. A lot of the people that I talked to, their grandparents died when they were in the 90s. Back then, most of the deaths were due to accidents or infection. You didn't hear people just dropping dead of heart attack. People were not obese. I mean, if you look at the movies of Kennedy and all their young kids in Kennedy Health Program, and you look at the movie, you look at the reel of people in the street, you don't see obesity as you see it today. But what were they eating? So look, okay, so they didn't have obesity. They didn't have all these issues, but what were they eating? And they were eating eggs, ham, lard. They were eating a lot of the things that today is evil for the cardio American society. And I say, well, you know, if back then they didn't drop dead, and that's what they were eating most of, why is it so bad? Then you look at France. France has one of the highest consumption of fats in their charcuterie and their creams, and French dishes mainly made of creams. They should be dropping dead. And France has one of the best in cardiovascular longevity. So there's something that is not, and I think food is key, and I think we have been misled. That's my opinion.
I think we can use stronger words. Like, someone should hang for making the food pyramid that wrong that long. Like that, it gave people permission to really indulge in horrible diets. It gave them permission to abuse their bodies, and it was just not transparent. And about your food, okay, this is one of my favorite subjects because I had to make a huge life change. I found myself about 85 pounds heavier than I am. And I had to change my diet. I was eating too much sugar. I decided I had to change my taste buds. So chamomile is my drink. Chamomile tea, no sugar, that's my drink. Now I've evolved into raw milk because that's my beverage now. But eating the foods your grandfather ate, pickled onions, pickled foods, preserved foods. You know, you're trying to cultivate good bacteria in your gut biome, and we know those are really good things. Fermented foods, even your sourdough bread, having your bread fermented like that really drops, it does not spike your blood sugar, all others. So yeah, really figure out what your grandfather ate, your grandmother ate, and dig into that, because those are good foods. You'll feel better. Because here's the thing with sugar that I'm sure of. The food we eat, we don't eat it. The bacteria and fungus in our biome, our gut biome, eat it. And so you pound some sugar, and your gut biome is going to explode with all the bacteria that eat the sugar, and that's not good for you. That's inflammatory. You're going to feel sluggish. Now, if you have built up a huge tolerance to corn syrup because you eat it every day and you don't notice that you feel worse, that's on you. But really investigate what your grandfather used to eat. And all the snacks we eat now, those are substitutes for like clove, the old herbs. That's an antiseptic. It's an antibiotic. Like, rotate that into your diet if you can, because it's cheaper. It's better for you. You know, it's pure. It doesn't have the glyphosate in it. And glyphosate, that chemical that is used in all Cancer Alley right now, is from Shreveport, Louisiana, down to Mardi Gras, because all of the farms draining their glyphosate down the Mississippi. That glyphosate interrupts what's going on in your belly and you can't digest like you want to. You're missing out on a lot, and you're going to get leaky gut syndrome. You're going to get all these permeability issues. So yeah, I'm with you. Diet is so important, and so few people pay attention to it.
Yeah, I think the industry, the pharma and the food industry have really done a misservice to our population. And when I go to the supermarket and I see an obese person pushing their cart, I look, what is that they're eating? And it's all carbs. There's hardly any protein. It's all carb. And I'm like, and the problem that, what bothers me is that person probably does not understand it. That person probably does not understand that this is bad for them and they're killing themselves. And so I don't get upset at the person because it wouldn't be fair. I get upset at the system because they have lied to them and they have pushed all these products that really are making people miserable. Once they started going with diabetes, and then they go into dialysis, and they start losing their legs, and they start losing their eyesight, and that's a horrible way to live. And that's my beef when I go out and I see things like that. But it's a monster we're fighting, and but it's all about education. That's the key, is to educate people that there's a better way and there's other things that we can do. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's so much good food out there. And yeah, nobody gives nutritionists any respect. I'm sorry, nutritionists. They should, but everybody thinks I eat every day. I'm a master at this. But yeah, the food pyramid was wrong. So your students that are graduating from ultrasound school, what's their career path like, and what hopes do they have?
Usually your students, they do all the didactic first. They know how to scan every organ that is a part of the program. So we do abdomen, which include thyroid, breast, and testicle. We do OB/GYN, so GYN normal, and then first, second, third trimester OB, and then we do vascular, 3 of them, hemodynamic, cerebral, we do arterial, and we do venous of the whole body. So they come out with 3 pillars, and they do all the didactic, they do all the scanning proficiencies on a timely manner before they can go out on clinical. Then they have 8 months of clinical at a hospital, local hospital here. By the time they finish, they usually get hired from the hospital directly. So I have about a 98%.
So you've got a good placement. Are they placed before they graduate?
Yeah, we're very strong.
I've only heard of one other school with placement that high up in South Dakota.
So I'm the program director at Kaiser University, but I'm also the university department chair. I oversee 8 other, with another person, I oversee 8 other ultrasound schools for Kaiser. So we all line up in the same program, we all do the same thing, we make sure the curriculum is the same, so the quality that comes out is the same. That being said, unfortunately, I lose about 40% of my students through the process. So not all of them that start will end up graduating. I lose about 40%.
60% graduate rate, huh? 40% drift.
About 60. I try to give it as much as I can to the 70% benchmark, but it is a very tough program. It is a very tough program. But the ones that come out excellent. And I always tell them there's a patient at the end of that probe, that it's in your hands and they're putting all their faith in you, and they're scared and they want someone that knows what they're doing. So it's a life and death issue.
I love it when people have meaning. When did you realize ultrasound was your gig, was your thing?
Oh, the first year I started doing it. I said, I can see inside of you, you don't even feel it, and I can see what's going on. That, before we had to open you up like a pig. exploratory, and then a lot of people die from infection and side effects and stuff like that. So the ability to see inside another human being without them feeling pain, to me, that's amazing. That is amazing. I mean, I can see the baby. My daughter-in-law is pregnant. I look at the baby all the time, check his brain, look at the ventricle, make sure the brain is fine. I look at the spinal cord. I look at the kidneys. I look at the spleen. I look at the heart, fourth chamber. I do this, I do that, make sure it doesn't have spina bifida, make sure the amniotic fluid is okay, the placenta. I mean, yeah. You know, I'm looking at a baby inside another human being, right? And people don't realize that.
Did I ever tell you the story of how I met ultrasound?
I'm sorry?
I got a similar, I tell it a lot, but it's so fun. When I was 17, I'm jumping on the trampoline with my little sister, and I broke her leg. Maybe it wasn't me, but she broke her leg. The leg was broke. We go to the hospital, and it was kind of busy that day, so they put us in a back room, and they said, hey, kid, don't touch this equipment. This is a storage room. I'm like, oh, okay. Of course, I fired it up because I'm 17, and they have live fluoroscopy x-ray. That's amazing. The ultrasound to see your heart beating in real time, your heart pumping, and like, I'm with you. It's amazing, and it's a skill I can put in anyone's hand. And if you're willing to earn it, just a little bit of practice, figure it out in your head, practice, like you can deliver this skill to anyone at any time. You know, transparency. I totally agree with you, because that got my brain percolating on what can ultrasound do? What else can it do? And you're right. The new tools like Doppler, color, just round out the picture of what's going on under the skin. I share that with you.
It's really amazing. One of the things that we have done in the past was to teach the midwives how to scan without really understanding what they were doing. They just had the tablet. We told them how to scan, and the tablet had an AI that would actually capture the picture of the baby and do the measurements and do a lot of the work that would have taken a lot of years for her to understand. And that would save a lot of women from dying because of issues. I think the World Health Organization says about 250,000 women die every year from pre, post, during, and post labor. So the ability to be able to just put that in someone's hand, use AI to help them make the diagnosis, transfer that information to someone that can make the decision. This person has to take a 3-day ride on a donkey to get to the hospital where they could do a cesarean, right? And that's the case. So you will save not only the mother, you will save the child. So that is the power of it.
That AI guiding, it's really powerful. The AI, so you can take someone who knows not a lot about ultrasound, get them close, and it'll give them like, that's the artery, that's the thyroid, like navigate. It's a huge accelerator.
My dream job was to actually go to NASA and to teach the astronauts how to scan, because they have an ultrasound machine in the space station. They have an ultrasound machine, and they get trained. One of them gets trained how to do an ultrasound of the whole body.
Yeah, bring me on that gig with you. That would be the most fun.
Because imagine something happened, appendicitis, kidney stones, whatever happens there, or pericardial effusion, whatever. Someone is able to. So I thought it would have been nice to work for NASA and to tell them how to use it.
You know, Antarctica would be a fun gig too.
Where?
They're just as far away.
No, too cold.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm in Florida. No. Forget about it. Like they say in New Jersey, forget about it. You know? No.
That's right. Where do you think ultrasound's going to go now that we talked about AI?
It's going to be, for the patient, is going to be much better, because that area that we were talking about, that it is so much technically dependent, is going to be eliminated. That part, which is the uncertainty, did that person do a good test or not? Was that person trained properly or not? Is going to be eliminated. So I think AI is going to help us And we will just have to relook at areas that we're more concerned with. I just think the AI is going to be a big part of it moving forward. And I think more people that don't have to spend 2 years being trained will be able to use it. And I see that especially in the third world countries and countries where this is non-existent right now. Especially now that you have a handheld with my phone, I could plug in a probe or the butterfly, and we can see anything. If you have that combined with AI and just tell them exactly where to put the probe, move up and down, and they can get all the views. I think that's the future.
I think so too. I was talking to Butterfly, and they said the little chip up here, they're gonna make a blanket of them. So, a dozen of them, so you can put it over the abdominal and just 3D it and capture it like a CT scan. I think that's coming. I think this chip's gonna shrink. My fantasy, if I could build it, I'd have it on the back of my phone. So you can look at the organ of interest and have it rendered and sent. Like, there's no reason that can't be in the future. And someday they'll look back and say, what happened to all the ultrasound techs?
Well, I tell you what, maybe the program will shrink to, instead of almost 2 years, it will shrink to maybe 6 months.
It could. I mean, the experience, like you said, the case studies. What went wrong? How did it go wrong? How do you find it? What levers will the doctor probably push? That's necessary information, and you only get that from experience, doing it a bunch of times. And I don't think that'll go away. I think the acquisition will get better, but the knowing what to do AI will probably get good at that too.
Yeah. Well, imaging is one of the things that AI will be very good at diagnosing. Is acquiring the image. Acquiring the image is what's going to be needed. And once you acquire the image,
We've had AI that was so good 20 years ago that it could see broken bones and x-rays that doctors could not see. And that has not yet replaced the radiologists. So we've had self-driving cars for a while, and that has not replaced the truck drivers. So
well, you have a strong lobby.
they do have a very strong lobby. That is probably the most salient point of this whole conversation, is there's a lot of inertia in medicine.
Oh, it's there's a lot. But the thing is this: it's like what you're doing today, what we're doing today. We're trying to educate people to the fact that there's other things that we don't see on an everyday. Education is the primary power that you have, and to be able to have control and decide what you want to do with your life is super important. So. Even though you go against the insurance company, the medical company, but now, like we were talking about for cash, basically you can come in as a wellness. So it's a wellness scan. It's not a diagnostic per se that, I have a tumor. This is supposed to be a wellness scan. You just come in for a wellness scan, and then you get a diagnosis with the radiologist. I think if people understand that if they spend $200, $300 on their health as a preventive measure, they will save a lot more money, headaches, and pain down the line. And I think that's what we need to try to educate people with.
I agree. That's my job. I'm trying to work hard at it. Teaching doctors that these tools are available to you. You can use this on your patient. This has been a test for many, many decades. And we know what normal is. We know what not normal is. If you're not normal, we know your 10-year risk of a heart attack or a stroke. It's pretty developed science, and it's undeniable at this point. Every primary care doctor who sees it says, all right, I want to use this in my clinic. Why wouldn't I want to use that in my clinic to show the patient, to get a baseline measurement? I agree. And not just the carotid, like the whole body.
So Joseph, let me ask you something. How come you got involved in ultrasound? What's your story?
So
because you're not a sonographer.
Not 100%.
But you can scan. I saw you scanning your carotid, and the way you reason through it, the way you move, I said, this guy's a natural. I wish I had students like you all day. So what's your story? What is it?
Oh, I've done several thousand ultrasounds. All right. So I told you about, discovering ultrasound, and then I go to college. I get a bachelor's degree in finance. I got another one in marketing. And unless you got payroll, it's useless. Unless you got a product to market. So I did an internship with an ultrasound company because I like ultrasound. And we were doing the the heart valve damage stuff with the lawyers. And I found I had a knack for coordinating lawyers and ultrasound techs. And we had teams going around the country, true mobile ultrasound. And we knew that was going to end. And so we went to some heart attack and stroke prevention conferences. And there they were talking about carotid IMT is the default test by the FDA to validate all these drugs, all these therapies. And the doctors in the room said, I would love to have that in my clinic. And we had the equipment already. So I got on Excel. I made a fancy pants little report. I put in the numbers and it graphs it for you and puts your dots where. And that was the first version. And I'd go office to office telling doctors about it. And they say, yeah, I've got a heart attack and stroke. Of course. And, that's 2006. I kind of set off on my own. And after that, like the machines got smaller, the suitcase sized machines, the briefcase, the laptop sized. And the ultrasound probes are getting smaller. The butterfly, these little ones I can put in a doc's hands, and I will tell them, I say, hey, this is a 4-year degree I'm about to teach you. Not everybody gets it. We're going to do it in 2 weeks, but we're only going to do one organ. We're not going to do the whole body. We're just really special. Okay. And if they practice, they can get the skill and offer it to their patients. And as the technology is getting better, my acquisition, where the doctor grabs the picture, that's getting easier. And I think a few months away from put the probe on the neck, press one button, and it'll digitize. And so you'll get a digital rendering, no humans involved. You'll get a report saying, here's your numbers, here's how much inflammation, how much and then relate it so all right, this is what's average, this is what that's what I want to deliver to the world. My fantasy is to do it for cheap or free and sell supplements at the end or something, but it costs so much to educate doctors and to get the message out about this technology that, it's a business right now. But, at some day having auto digitized arteries so the doctor can show their patient in a really flamboyant way, very dramatic. So that's what I want to do. But right now I've got teams of ultrasound techs around the country. It really makes me happy to contribute to ultrasound techs leaving the hospital, knowing that they can start their own mobile ultrasound business and be part of a community. Every day you go to a different local doctor's office and you provide the scans that you provide and you get them, and it's in the doc's office. The patients love it. And it's a great little business for people, ultrasound techs, young gals. It's safe. It pays well. That's something that I would like to develop, is where every human has a skill helping other humans. I think a lot like you. And so, I dig my job, my work, telling people how to save the best methods I've come across on how to save lives and making it as transparent as I can. So that's been the last 25 years of Vasolabs, 20 years. Teaching, showing, right?
Well, that's great. That's great that ultrasound unite a lot of people uh, into this whole. It's a superpower. Yeah, I have my students. They are developing a T-shirt that says, "I can see inside of you. What is your superpower?" Right. So and
That's better. The ultrasound techs used to have the T-shirt, ultrasound techs do it in the dark.
yeah, we do it better in the dark.
Like they had a bunch of, they do it better in the dark.
Yeah, we do it best. We do it best, or we do it better in the dark, or something like that. But that has a sexual connotation to it. I like that.
Yeah, they had a bunch of dirty T-shirts. They were funny.
I like the superpower one. I think that, and it's true. At the end of the day, it is true. It's a superpower through ultrasound that we can see. And now ultrasound, ultrasound now is being used for what they call focus ultrasound, which is a combination of MRI and ultrasound to laser focus the ultrasound to burn tumor. So now ultrasound has developed into the therapeutic aspect of it. So focused ultrasound is that the whole thing that's coming up next is it's been here for a while now. They're doing a lot of research, and they're actually blasting cancer using sound waves, which I think is the future in surgery. Just because it's just like using a magnifying glass, right? When we were kids with the sun trying to get that beam, it does the same thing with ultrasound. It focuses to a very high intensity, and sound gets converted into heat. That's what sound does. So the heat in that particular, and the vibration of the cells, they destroy the cancer, and they can see the cancer with their MRI or the CAT scan. I think it's a CAT scan. They can actually see how the cancer gets damaged or dissolved or whatever it is through ultrasound. So,
Are you saying that we can use, much like the old TV commercials where they could make a glass vibrate with voice and chatter, they can focus ultrasound on cancer cells and disassemble them or break them up?
oh yeah, but this has been already for the last 5 years. They've been working on it. If you Google focused ultrasound, it's the whole thing about they're actually making little holes in the brain blood barrier. So the brain blood barrier are very tight cells that doesn't let anything go through the brain, right? So a lot of the problems that we have is medication for Parkinson, for example, that cannot go through the brain blood barrier. So one of the things that they do is that they make little holes with the ultrasound to allow some of the medication to escape and go in. And they have very good success, I think, with I think it's neuroblastoma multiformes of the brain, and they're looking at pancreatic cancer and some of the tumors where they can actually focus. Google it, you'll see this a tremendous amount of work, and I think that is so exciting that now we don't even have to cut people.
Yeah, there's other applications of ultrasound. That one, I didn't know they got it so precise, but I knew that there were some patents out of Israel to use it to melt fat of a certain frequency and depth. And it takes many treatments, but why not, right?
Well, but the problem is that you melt the fat and then you eat 10 burgers or whatever and all the Cheerios, and you get the fat back. I mean,
you can out-eat that therapy. I agree. You could out-eat it.
I mean, it has to be a combination, and but yeah, ultrasound.
Yeah, there's so many applications for the ultrasound. Yeah, you hear of any other cool ideas or patents used? I love this. Like, I don't talk to many other ultrasound guys who are.
I mean, focused ultrasound, I think, is the coolest thing out there right now. I have a lot of hope for it. I believe that from what I have read, that it will be a game changer in surgery. As you know, in medicine, everything moves very slowly. As you say, there's a lot of inertia out there to change anything. That means a lot of people are going to lose money or whatever, and there's a lot of resistance to not stay in the old path. And I think that's the fight that we have to have. But I think focus ultrasound is the future in a lot of the surgeries.
Yeah, and when you say the old path, let's define that a little bit. The old path usually means we know how it gets paid, we know it's a business model, and we're not going to try anything new. And a lot of people just devote their whole lifetime because that's what they know how to do, they can deliver it, no problem. But you're right, new therapies come out, and there's a little bit of friction, it's a little messy, and the first generation, they don't like that, and they don't like that they got to pay cash when I pay insurance. But I promise you, there's really incredible therapies out there that not anybody knows about. Wonderful. All right, Victor, we've spent a whole hour talking about ultrasound. Thank you for your time. Thanks for your knowledge.
A pleasure being with you.
We'll get this out to you.
Yeah, and I hope your listeners will get some good information out of this and realize that they have to take their health in their hands, not leave it to doctors. Most of them are wonderful people. They have good intentions, but they have been bred into a system, and that system is enslaving them. And I think we need to be able to get out of that slaving system and have control. So that's what I hope.
All right, Victor. Thank you so much.
A pleasure. God bless.